see, from the person you chose, how many of you chose someone who went to college, most likely? Possibly. And sometimes when we think of great people who have met and overcome adversity, they haven't always been to college. And especially if we're looking at people in history, that they are well known and have successful lives, even though they didn't go to college or they didn't finish college. And you look at, you hear the obvious, that Bill Gates and Zuckerberg never finished college. And, but there are plenty of people just walking around everywhere that are highly successful that didn't finish college. And so when we look at college, it's been for so long just our goal point. And in Georgia, we've been emphasizing getting as many people as possible through high school and out to college. And yet, what we're seeing is that students take sometimes 5 years. And when a student takes 5 years to finish college, they oftentimes don't finish college. We've got a lot of students that just don't ever complete their degrees. And then without a degree, it's that much more difficult to find a job. And so, so the goal point is, as hard as it is not college. The goal point is work and being a successful citizen. And in college, what comes after high school can take lots of different forms. And now we have more options, that Walmart of options for our continued education and our training. And so looking at just the variety of things that are available for you. So for some folks, it's a 4-year university. For others, in a big university, an SEC school. For others, it's a small liberal arts university, a college for others. For some, it's a technical training course. There's a new campus in Gainesville called a Communiversity. And it's a collection of typically they're the smaller technical training schools. Brenau University is there, Piedmont, Georgia Perimeter. They're all there, and it was started by a corporation, a company that's been around since like 1912 called Featherbone. Are you guys familiar with this story? And so Featherbone wanted to really make a difference in education and workforce in Georgia, and so they got colleges to agree to come together to one campus and to stop competing for students and to focus on doing the training and the workforce skills development that would be most essential for the companies that were in the surrounding area for jobs. And so this Communiversity started by this company called Featherbone. Do you know why they were called Featherbone? They used to take whale bones to make corsets out of them. And so, so they started out making corsets, and then they moved into making other things with other types of bones. And so they're called Featherbone. But they're still around making something like mattresses, making whatever they're making. And they have a success rate of 88% getting students through colleges on this campus and into jobs. And as quickly as possible. And the jobs aren't at Starbucks, they're with real corporations. And the reason is because the corporations came in and said, this is what we want. And the same thing has happened down at Savannah College of Art and Design. If you guys have been to Savannah lately, corporations about 5-10 years ago said, we need something to revive the city, because Savannah was just a dying city, no one was going there. And SCAD was there as an art and design school, but it was just this tiny little thing. And so they decided to turn it into a university and bring more of your math and your English courses there rather than just simply art and design. And it's invigorated the entire city, and it's attracting students from all around the world, and now they have campuses in Lacoste and Hong Kong and London, and students that are coming from Japan for their graphic design. And the film and entertainment industry, one of the reasons they moved here to Georgia was because of SCAD and the number of students they're pumping out that are going into film and entertainment. And so it's when corporations get involved, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for workers, not just simply giving us a lot of fun at a fraternity house. And so, so what I want you guys to do is to look at what you wrote, the famous person or the person that's of significance to you, and the soft skills. And then we're going to do some sharing, and you can either read your paragraph or just tell about the person and what those skills were that you identified. Would you like to go again first?
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to roll my eyes. he came from a poor mill town in Pelzer, South Carolina. He had to repeat third grade, but he had a mom who believed in him. He had what we would probably call today as ADHD, dyslexia, and dysgraphia. He went on to get his PhD in zoology and became one of the leading environmentalists on the North American continent. Why? We always said he would let harsh critiques roll off his back like water on a duck. He was flexible when dealing with state budgets, enough to usually get what his department DNR needed. He was not good at details, but would delegate those skills to others. He could talk at ease with a welder on a ship all the way to the President of the United States. Why? Because he generally was interested in a person's ideas and beliefs. He showed up at work generally before anyone else and had a strong work ethic. He thought out of the box enough to get millions of dollars to preserve land for future generations.
Wow. That sounds like somebody we'd all want to be. Nice. Thank you. Next, Duncan.
Okay. I'm just going to read the paragraph.
Okay.
Thomas Edison invented over 200 new items, including the telegraph and the light bulb. He had an incredible work ethic, never taking a day off. He was not only adaptable, but also flexible, working tirelessly no matter his condition or his location. He famously tried over 1,000 prototypes of the light bulb, showing his great ability for problem solving and critical thinking. And finally, he could accept criticism. He often asked his little niece for ideas and took her feedback into account.
Did Thomas Edison go to college?
I don't think so.
When he was in first grade, the teachers told his mother that he couldn't learn and he couldn't stay in school. They kicked him out, basically. And so his mother, this is an amazing story, she told him that the teachers, after the teacher conference, that the teachers said they didn't have enough teachers that were smart enough to teach him in school, and that he would be taught at home. It makes me kind of tear up, because actually what they said was that he can't come back to school because he's not smart enough to be here. And so so his mom homeschooled him all the way through. So yeah, so innovation doesn't require being in a classroom with students all around. Very good. Next one.
My person that I wrote a paragraph on was Martin Luther King. I think one of the soft skills that really helped him was his communication skills that allowed him to give his great speeches, which rallied like tens of thousands of people. His leadership skills helped him organize the civil rights movement, and his motivation was one of the key elements to his role. And in my opinion, it was one of his strongest skills. And his adaptability and flexibility prepared him for the unexpected. An example would be when he was stabbed in I forget the state, but he was able to recover from it, not just physically but psychologically a lot quicker than most people would. And his problem-solving and critical thinking skills allowed him to find loopholes through the flawed segregation laws and yeah.
Excellent. Again, you guys are finding people who grew so much more outside of the classroom and in terms of their knowledge base and expertise, and learned so much from family and from mentors, and much more than they could have actually gotten in a classroom for their success. Hi, welcome. Okay, Sam.
So teachers that I've ever had, perhaps the best teacher I've ever had. I'm taking German 5 with him, and I've had him for 3 years so far in high school. And basically, he makes all of his own learning and teaching materials. So he's got like hundreds of different documents that are all like 30 pages long to teach you how to write or teach about different topics that we talk about in German. And he always speaks in German, like, so we don't ever have a chance to speak to him in English. So it's like immersion, but in the classroom. And also we have to do PowerPoint presentations in his class, 2 a year. And after you make one, there's a lot of, or after you make it, people ask you questions and then about it, and then they comment on your presentation, the PowerPoint itself, your presentation skills, your communication with the classroom, and so he's basically teaching us the ability to accept criticism. He actually said that explicitly last Thursday. He also he has the work ethic to make all of those documents that we have to use to learn German, and analytical skills when we are we talk about a lot of topics for like an entire class period just in German and just have a classroom discussion, and I think that's using the analytical skills to talk about it.
And the details and the communication and bringing the challenges to everyday classroom. That's excellent. Very nice. Next, Greta.
Okay, many of you are gonna roll your eyes, but I actually wrote about my boyfriend. He has, I know, but he has lots of severe chronic health problems since he was very young. And he's a freshman in college now at UGA. And he had to take 11 classes the first semester of his senior year to make it so that he would even have enough classes to graduate. He didn't know if he was going to graduate, but he is an incredible, his work ethic is like ginormous, and he'll do it no matter what. His health is at any time, and he gets everything done. He's dependable. He adapts well to new situations. He's in the hospital a lot. He's in the hospital right now, actually. And he's flexible, and he's a good communicator. He still like lives a normal life and talks to people, and doesn't let that get his health stuff get in the way of that.
That is great. What an amazing role model too.
Me too.
My turn?
Mhm.
Alright, well, I wrote about my grandparents. They grew up during the Great Depression, the height of the Great Depression. My grandfather was raised in a family of chicken farmers, and my grandmother grew up in a family of 8 children whose mother passed away when she was only 2 years old. They graduated high school and got married right away because, well, not only was that sort of the thing to do 80, 70 years ago, but my grandfather was being deployed for the war, so they were in a hurry to do that. And then the war ended right before he actually got sent out. But the reason I read about them is because despite all these like challenges of their socioeconomic class, like growing up and whatnot, they actually, together with their project managing and teamwork, their problem solving, critical thinking, business acumen, and work ethic, they created Crystal Springs Water Company. And they started off just delivering the water in the back of the family station wagon, and now you see those big green Crystal Springs trucks driving around town, and see the water bottles, in the stores, and they actually made the water bottles too themselves, and they built the plant, and my mom used to know every trucker by name, but so since then they've sold the company, and now they're very well off.
That is
Much better
great.
than they grew up.
Yeah, I saw one meme the other day was talking about there have been more people who are successful that come out of of challenging situations than that come out of entitlement and privilege. So yeah, that's great.
Excuse me. I actually used Johnny Depp as an actor. As a child, he was bullied because he had dyslexia, and in a way, ironically, he used it when he got older as a, I guess, I want to say, skill. It's enabled him to accept criticism better, and that's from the bullying. People, oh, you can't read, you can't do this, and you're never going to do this, you're never going to do that. And because of that, ironically, he has, become a successful person. He's very, very flexible and a leader. I know for once he came to, I think it was Emory, and a child who had leukemia asked to see this Jack Sparrow, and he is very, very good with his leadership skills. So it's one person I admire.
Thank you. Check.
You're talking about FDR made me think of someone I knew a little bit about. Was Temple Grandin was born with autism, and so severe that they thought she was brain damaged, but she was able to overcome this huge adversity to become a college professor, best-selling author, and an innovator in the treatment of autism, as well as what she's probably most well known for, her treatment, her research into humane treatment of animals, and she's become a famous public speaker as well. So she's really overcome huge obstacles and adversity and used her what people would call a disability to become a huge influence on. I just think that's interesting. She's used her adversity to become a success and a huge contributor to society.
In two different fields, both in autism and in how we manufacture beef. And she, because she has a PhD in animal something, it's husbandry, agriculture, something like that. And obviously this real engineer's brain. And I've met her a couple of times, and she's just really fabulous. And so she has this understanding of animals, and we'll talk about how she relates really well to animals, because animals obviously they know without us saying anything whether or not they like us. And so she talks about how she knows immediately when she meets someone before she gets very close to them or even says anything, just based on, she calls it the aura. There's just sort of this energy that they give off, very much like a dog will understand if someone is going to be friendly or not to them. And so her understanding of cows and the challenges that cows were facing as they were led to slaughter is what caused one of her, I guess, first inventions. And are you guys familiar with this? Am I telling you something you already know? And so she realized that as cows, because the more frightened they are, then you can taste it in the beef. And so it makes for their muscles becoming really tense as they're slaughtered, and excuse me for the graphic stuff, and it doesn't taste as good. And so for ranchers out west, she developed a curving sort of path to the slaughter. And so also cows have a really difficult time stepping over anything with a slot in it. And so she developed a couple of different, I guess, methods for having the cows go gently to the point of our dinner plate and not feeling that fright that they had felt before. And then for children with autism, oftentimes deep pressure is something that really calms children with autism and helps them to relax. And so she had that same experience herself. She's a highly anxious kind of person. And so she developed a squeezing machine, that she calls it. And every day after work, when she's feeling anxious, she sort of places herself into this huge squeezing machine and provides her whole body with deep pressure input. And so that's been something that can help, that has helped kids all over the place, just from that one person who, when she speaks, is amazingly engaging and funny. And then afterwards, she needs to sort of retreat and be by herself. And because that's not an area of strength for her, speaking to large groups of people. And so she has both the strengths and the weaknesses that we all possess, but has been able to take this adversity and do tremendous things with it. And has written several books too. And what we'll do in a few minutes is to introduce our new student, and but we'll give you a break for right now. Okay. And then next.
I actually wrote about Steve Jobs, but I'm going to change my person. Because I know more about, I'm going to change to Michael Phelps because I know more about him. You all know Michael Phelps is a swimmer. I look at him more as an entertainer to like entertain the world. He's entertained the sport of swimming. Is you look down this, one thing that he had to do was flexibility. Like a lot of people don't know, when he was like going for the most gold medals before he did the most decorated Olympian, his goggles fell off in one of his races, the butterfly. So he swam 8 laps without goggles, and he won the race by 100th of a second. So that's like a fingernail. So he had to do with flexibility. He didn't say, oh man, my goggles filled up so I can't finish this race. He finished the race, he won the race, got most gold medals. Every day he goes to practice, he has to do time management. Like when he was in high school, he had to get his schoolwork done. He had to say, oh, I can't go to this party. I can't go out with friends. I have to go swim practice. He has to figure out how he does school and swimming and all that at the same time. He did problem solving. That same thing with planning and organization. He is a great leader outside the sport of swimming. He does youth events. He goes around. He teaches other kids how to swim, and he's just a leader. He's just an athlete that a lot of people look up to. So I chose him.
Absolutely. Fabulous. So that's an exercise that we're going to use now. Does anyone need to take a bathroom break before we get into our next exercise? Yes? Okay. So we'll take a 5-10 minute bathroom break and then come back and we're going to do a little bit more writing. Bathroom break or water break, walk around, getting a job, and being a productive citizen of this great country. And so, and some of the famous people or famous people to us that you guys listed, we don't know if they went to college or not, but somehow they made their mark on both yourselves and the world, regardless of what school they went to. So it kind of puts things into perspective a little bit. The other part, and I'll wait till Duncan gets back to emphasize this, but there's lots of options that you guys have after high school. And it used to be that no one took a gap year, and then it used to be that everyone took a little bit of time off between high school and college. And now gap years, sometimes called bridge programs or bridge years, are not that uncommon. In some colleges, actually, you can go to college and take a gap year at the same time. And so, which is just amazing that you would pay tuition just to go and spend time in Costa Rica for a year. And but it's a way to attract students, and it's all about attracting students that then brings the revenue. And so we talked about communiversities. We talked about, we'll talk more about large universities versus smaller private or smaller liberal arts schools and what works best for your particular interests and needs. And then there's also just technical training schools. And right now in this state, we need about 5,000 welders. And welders can make $50,000 after they go through their initial training program, which I think takes like 6 weeks, and then there's an apprenticeship program. And so to become a welder, make some money, and if you don't know what you want to do, where you want to go for college, it's some pretty good money. And it's a hard job, and you learn a lot of things. If you don't have strong soft skills just yet of punctuality and dependability, you'll develop those when you become a welder. And so just thinking outside the box a little bit in terms of doing what works best for you, and realizing that even though you're oftentimes focused on who your others in your senior class or your junior class are and where they're going, that again, we're at a global stage, a global marketplace, and finding where you best fit in that global world where you do represent a very fortunate group of 1%ers, basically, because we have so many choices in this country. And it seems like sometimes we don't have any choices, but we have so many choices when we compare ourselves to so many others out there who are 16, 17, 18 years old and would give anything to be sitting here in this class, even thinking about going to college, because so many of them haven't even had a chance to finish high school. I work a little bit with Global Village Project. Are you familiar with that school over in Decatur? And it's a school for girls who are refugee girls. And in Atlanta and Clarkston, we have one of the, I think it's actually the largest resettlement programs for refugees in the country. Who knew? It's right over there in Clarkston. And many of the girls who come to Global Village Project they live in Clarkston, and they're here because they're at the Global Village Project because they have interrupted education. And that means that they could be 18 and they've only had 1 year of school, or they had school in a refugee camp before they got here to this country, or they've had school all the way up to the 6th grade, but nothing before that, or they're in 6th grade and they've had lots of school, but they need to assimilate and understand what it's like to be in America first before they go to public school. And so Global Village Project works with those girls to fill in those gaps and accelerate their education so that they've got the options of the American dream, because they're here in America, and the dream that they have for themselves is very much the same dream that you guys have for yourself of getting a college degree and they usually want to be nurses or doctors or lawyers, the usual kind of professions that we think of. And they've got a lot of catching up to do. But talk about soft skills. They're working on those communication skills all the time, their punctuality. They oftentimes have jobs after school. And they have to, what's amazing too is that they have to get from Clarkston over to Decatur on MARTA, because very few times do they have other forms of transportation available to them. So huge drive and motivation, and it's a great program, and one where, as we talk about giving back, an opportunity to give back to a group of other students just right here in our own community. So, Duncan, hi, welcome back. So when we look at the things we admire in others, those are oftentimes the qualities that we admire in ourselves. So that exercise we just did of looking at someone who's famous to you, who has overcome adversity and challenges with those soft skills, those are the soft skills. And I want you just to stay narrowly focused right now that we're going to use to talk about yourself. And when you apply for college applications, oftentimes there's an essay that's required, and they want to know something about you. And that's going to be the thing that sticks out in someone's mind in the admissions process almost more than anything else, because lots of kids have great GPAs now because of we just have great GPAs. We got 10, there was one school last year that had 10 valedictorians, and you don't get 10 valedictorians unless you've got a lot of kids with the same GPA. And so we've got students that have a hard time making a C these days because everybody's getting B's and A's. And I know it seems strange, but when you go back 30 years, when the average student used to make a C because they were the average student, and that was the average grade, and only the exceptional top 10% of the class made A's, then it's very different these days. So if you need more paper, I've got more paper. We're going to write a short paragraph about yourself, and this is anonymous. You're going to keep it, fold it up, and put it in your pocket afterwards. You don't have to read it. But this is an exercise where you take those same qualities, the same soft skills that you used for the person you admire, and you write a brief paragraph about something that you overcame in your own life, some challenge that you had. studying for finals, or finding your way back on a camping trip when you thought you were lost. It could be anything. Taking your 5 German Shepherds down the street, anything at all. Some sort of challenge where you use those same soft skills, because that's what you admire most about yourself. It really is. A productive member of society and getting a job, but it used to be that we changed jobs. This was maybe kind of 6 or 7 years ago, that the average person would change jobs every 58 months, and now it's less than that. And so your first job does not anymore mean that it's going to be your job that you might have even 3 years later. So a productive member of society, somebody who leaves a mark, leaves a legacy, somebody who does something worthwhile, like the people you wrote about. That's the end game here. That's the goal. And you guys all have the most amazing place with the most amazing opportunities in which to do it. So, so that little essay you just wrote about yourself, take that away, keep it for your application process, and think about moving forward with those types of things without fear, because the admissions officers see everything, and you want to stand out. And being real on paper is where you stand out in your application, because again, the GPAs are sort of flattened. Everyone's got a 4.0 or a 3.8 or something higher than a 3.0. And everyone's doing lots of clubs and amazing things, it seems like. And then the SAT, which we're going to go into next, is getting a little bit easier. And so it's your essays that are important. And getting someone to, if you feel like your writing skills aren't that strong, then getting someone to help with crafting the essay and practicing it so that it uses those good analytical skills, critical thinking skills that colleges are looking for. So who's taken the new SAT isn't out yet. And so who's taken the SAT? Everybody is. Okay. And so almost everyone's taken the SAT. And the new SAT, which comes out in March 2016, is basically still very similar to the old SAT. And so the SAT prep courses that are out right now are preparing you for the old SAT and the new SAT. And there are free SAT prep courses, and there are SAT prep courses that you can pay for. And there are SAT prep tutors that will come and sit down with you and make sure you open the book and go online and study. And there's online SAT prep and tutors. And so in Georgia, and depending on which school you're applying to, the SAT score has been a bigger determining factor than the GPA. And remember, we talked about the GPA and Hope Scholarship, and how the Hope Scholarship basically caused a situation where teachers rarely or are not that interested in giving out anything less than a B. And so if you're in a college prep course and you're looking to go to college, then the GPA is it's not as valid as it used to be. And so colleges know that. And in Georgia, they look more at SAT scores and they look more at essays. And so just to be aware of those types of things. Obviously, the GPA reflects your ability in high school to show up for class, to do your homework, to put forth an effort, that good work ethic, that kind of thing. And so, but don't sweat it if it's not as high as you'd like for it to be. And at the same time, with the SAT, because it's made some changes, it's a little bit easier to get, hopefully, a better grade. So again, though, like college admissions counselors or college counselors in high school, the SAT is about making money. And I think it's used as a way of measuring how smart we are. But the College Board that puts out the SAT, they're looking for your name. They're looking, remember, you guys are commodities. You guys are the rock stars. You guys are the celebrities, the sports stars. And so they want your name, they want your address, they want to know things about you, so they can send you lots of postcards and sell your information to schools. And so as soon as you take the first SAT, you'll notice that afterwards you get lots of postcards from schools that are really interested in you. And that's because they've seen your SAT scores and they want to go ahead and start marketing to you because you represent anywhere from $30,000 to $150,000 depending on their donor base and the scholarships that you can bring in. And so just being aware of what it is and how it's utilized can help you not be so frightened of it, because they want you probably more than you want them, and that's a good place to be in. So the changes in the SAT, they've made the essay optional, but some schools are going to continue to require the essay on the SAT, and it's important. I wouldn't opt out of it unless you've got some real challenges with writing, which may be dysgraphia or something that keeps you from being able to write an essay within 50 minutes. And with the SAT, you can get extended time. And these days, learning challenges are no longer something that's keeping a student out of college, because colleges are hiring and developing departments and programs for all types of learning challenges. And they also get additional federal dollars for students with learning challenges. And so there's an incentive there to bring on more students with learning challenges. So don't let that keep you from exploring that area. And it's something of a relatively new area, so you got to ask some questions and get some guidance from the academic advisors and guidance counselors. But there's additional scholarships and, like I said, additional dollars that come along with learning challenges. And the SAT will give you extra time. So it does cost money to take the SAT, but with the way they've structured it, taking it as many times as you can is what you want to do. You want to take it often. You want to take it almost every time it's available. And the reason is because they do the super scoring, and so your best score is the one that you keep. And so you toss out your worst score, and then you take it again, and you keep that best score. And there's no penalty in the new SAT for guessing. And so if you've got test anxiety and you're worried about getting a lower score because you just may not feel that comfortable in test-taking situations, wait until the new SAT comes out, because you won't be penalized for the guessing there. And back when we used to do sort of how to take a standardized test, your basic of if you're not sure about an answer, don't answer A or D. It's usually one of those multiple choice questions in between B or C. It's not going to be A or D. And so little things like that tutors can teach you on how to take tests. Those are all available and tons of online free information. So accessing that information for you is going to give you a leg up, and especially when you're looking at Georgia admissions officers who are looking more heavily at the SAT, because they know you can take it as many times as you want, and they know that there's no longer a penalty for guessing. And if there's an option to write an essay and you write an essay and you didn't have to write an essay, that looks better than if you don't write one. And we'll go more into the specific questions about SAT as well a little bit. With the ACT, if you think a science degree is going to be in your future, take the ACT and take them both. It's a lot to do in your junior and senior year, I know, but the ACT is, it's good to have in your file if you think you might want to go into science. And if you're not sure, you want to keep your options open as much as possible. So, and the PSAT, have everyone taken the PSAT? Okay. And some kids start taking the PSAT in 8th grade, and take the SAT every year in freshman year and sophomore year just to get comfortable with taking that kind of test. And so that's what's happening at your private schools where they're really grooming kids to go into college, and there's nothing that's blocking anyone from doing that as well. So take the SAT and get used to those types of exams. Because when you finish college and you go into graduate school, you're going to have to sit and do more things like that again. And so no fear going forward. Are you guys feeling like you're getting some pretty good preparation for the SAT at school? And encouragement to take it? Okay, kind of, sort of. Okay. Let's see. And one of the reasons that they've made the essay optional is because writing is difficult for students these days, more difficult than it used to be. And so you want to show off that you can write and that you can form a 3-paragraph essay, and that the grammar and the syntax and the spelling, even if it's not exactly perfect spelling, but that it's there. And so that's important. The other change in the new essay is that the vocabulary has gotten easier. And so if you're worried about the vocabulary, they say it's more real-world vocabulary rather than words you would never use again. But it also means that they've sort of made it a little bit easier as well. So that should be refreshing news for everyone for the new SAT, that it's slightly easier, which means that the scores are going to go up, and which is another reason for taking it as often as possible. You guys already knew that, right? You should take it as much as you can. Okay. Yeah. How much does it cost each time you take it?
Like $60.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, the SAT is in several different parts, and your highest, like she said, you'll throw out, or they can take an individual grade from your SAT. Say math, you got 500, and reading 400, and then the next time you took it, you got a lower score in reading but a higher score in math. You can take the piece from one and the piece from the other. It's not the whole score together. So
And they're
that's
doing
super
that
scoring.
with the new SAT.
It depends on the school. So they'll take your highest math from all your SATs and then look at your highest reading from all your SATs. It's not taking your highest grade from one SAT. So it's a little bit easier.
Is there a point where it's saying you've taken it too many times?
I never like taking that many tests. My daughter's taking it.
Really rich to just that.
Yeah, I think people take it like 2 or 3 times. I mean, after that, you're just like, your scores are fair. You know, you might come up a little bit, but you know, if you've put the effort in beforehand and you take it, and, you know, everybody has a bad day. You might do, you know, significantly better on a piece, but after 2 or 3 times, unless there's some outstanding reason.
And it depends on when you start taking it too, because we've got freshmen, sophomores, and just taking the PSAT, and then junior year, and then some people have the flu on one particular test date, and so taking it again. But unless you're doing early acceptance, then taking it until you're ready to apply is perfectly fine.
And then my daughter took the ACT, even though she's not in math or science, she's much more creative. Her score was better when they compare SAT to ACT, because she thought it was the format, because you do, I think SAT, you do some of the math, and later you come back and do some of the more. So again, ACT, okay, you're doing all math, and then you're done. And then an hour later, you're doing something else. And she just liked that you could, it was just a nice block.
You could keep your
You
mind
just
on that one
brain,
thing
yeah.
and then switch to another thing.
Right, and the way the questions are formatted, apparently in the ACT, it's a little bit more direct and straightforward.
Right, and the analytical and critical thinking aspect is more embedded within the SAT. But not every school is looking at ACTs, and so you want to know, keeping your options open makes a big difference. And if you know that a school is going to take an ACT and that's a school that you want to apply to, then taking the ACT there.
Yeah, you never know. You might
Yeah.
surprise yourself.
Absolutely.
Doing better on one test.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest, anxiety-provoking thing about being senior and a junior is that SAT. And so it's nice that they've made some changes over the years, because back when we took it, you took it one time and it was pass or fail, basically. Everything was writing on that one day. And so they've become much more accommodating and flexible. But it's also, now there's a larger pool of students taking it, and they're strategizing. They're doing that rubric of how many times do I need to take the SAT to get the best score I can. And so they're your competition. So then over to GPA versus taking your AP courses or being in the IB program. And so it's, let's see, again, a strategy of, do you want to preserve a strong GPA or get into an AP course, and where your GPA may come down a little bit. And from what I've seen for a lot of students, the colleges they're looking for risk takers who are willing to step out and challenge themselves in new ways. And given it in Georgia, like we said, the GPA is it's not given as much weight as it used to be, then schools are looking at your AP classes. Sometimes our AP classes are not as challenging as the actual college class, and so the exam you take at the end of the AP course may not get you that college credit, and so that's what a lot of students are finding. And so it also reflects, if you are in an AP course, that you go the extra mile and make sure that you're really devouring and doing the work, and that would be considered college level work. So you get that course credit, and then don't have to take the course in college. And colleges, they're looking at that as well, how well you did in the AP course, and how many courses you're able to clep out of if you need to. Let's see.
I think the AP test, you don't have to release they don't automatically send your scores. You
Right.
get to choose. So it's not the pressure of, oh my gosh, they're going to know what I got, even if I did bad if they won't.
Right. Is anyone in the IB program here? No? Okay. That's, and the IB program, I haven't really seen a huge weighting necessarily for students beyond what you would imagine. If you're in the program, then you're on a path that's leading toward colleges that look at the IB program, but the AP courses are something of a big determination. And oftentimes, more girls are hesitant to take AP courses than guys are And so if you're a female, taking that AP course can make you stand out just a little bit more. And because it shows that you're willing to take the risk and maybe sacrifice something of your GPA in order to have the more challenging content. Oh, dual enrollment courses. And so several of the universities around Atlanta offer dual enrollment courses. And if you have several of our schools, will say if you have a certain GPA and you've completed so many of the requirements for Georgia graduation, then you're eligible for taking dual enrollment courses. And again, just going the extra mile and taking a course that Kennesaw State has to offer, or even Georgia Perimeter, to get you a good experience of being in college. And they're typically less expensive than if you go to by the time you start college. And so getting some of the courses out of the way when they cost less will help save some of those dollars that are set aside for college when you get there. So keeping that in mind during your busy senior and junior years. How many seniors do we have? 2, 3, and the rest are juniors? Okay, so the GeorgiaCollege411.org is the website to go to for keeping these types of things straight. And when you're applying for schools, how many should you apply to? Has anyone told you how many schools you should apply to? How many? Okay. And yeah, and 12 is usually too many. In your private school, kids, they're applying to 8. And so getting up there around 7, 8. And with the common application now, it's easier to apply to more schools. Do you guys, let's see, you guys have toured some schools, so you know what's out there. And one thing I didn't realize too is that the schools that we have within a 2-hour driving range of Atlanta basically reflect every school in the country. And so you can find large universities, you can find smaller private schools, you can find schools that specialize in just everything, and they're all within a 2-hour driving range. So, let's see, I want to make sure we don't go over. So your college campus tour can help you to determine, after you've thought about where you want to go in life and what you want to do with your life after college, then looking at what type of school has the type of major you think you might want to explore, or a variety of majors, so that you can switch your major, because most students do. And to go in knowing that most students are going to switch your major is perfectly fine. Most students take 5 years to complete college rather than 4 years. And so there are more options these days. And I don't know the number or percentage of the number of students who switch schools, but more and more students are switching schools after their freshman year, and or sometimes during their freshman year. And those are the statistics you won't find from the college counselors, because their goal is to get you into a school, but not get you through the college. It's just, their end goal is that you've been accepted to a particular school, and they've won when that happens. And so, but whether or not it's the best school for you, that's totally different. And you may think it's the best school for you initially, and then it may turn out to be not at all the best school for you. So, and interestingly, there are huge scholarships that are available for lateral transfers. And so when you get to a school, exploring the notion, if you're not happy there, of what's available to you at a different school, and the scholarships that are available for one school pulling a student away from another school. It's something we'll talk about in our scholarships. So let's see, I want to hear what you guys have seen on your college campus tours. Who's got an experience they want to share with the group from college campus tours? I would say for a Hershey's Kiss, you guys already have them. Anyone?
I did a few college tours. Over spring break I went to GCSU down in Milledgeville, and I don't know if I'm going to go there, but it'll be a cool option. It's a really, really small town. Basically the entire town is dedicated to GCSU. It's really cool, like really involved student body, big, but since it's such a small town, like it's a big college, but basically the entire town, the college encompasses the entire town, and like all the restaurants around are basically dining halls. Like you get your food, you get to use your food carts there, which is pretty cool. They have not as much, like, I'm planning to go into law, so they don't really have a strong, like, post 4-year education kind of thing. But it was a cool college. They actually, the GPA is more important to them than SAT scores. The average SAT score, composite, what is it? Math and reading combined is, I think, like 1100, which is not fantastic. Not bad, but not fantastic. But they care a lot about GPA. Like their minimum GPA is somewhere around like 3.4.
Did they say why that is, or?
I don't recall. And then I went to Emory. Well, Emory's right here. My mom works at Emory. I've been to Tech. My dad works at Tech. Emory Oxford. I went to Emory Oxford. And that's a 2-year Emory college, and it's only freshmen and sophomores. And it's really small, like 2,000, 2,500 students. You can basically like build your own major, which is really awesome, and combine stuff that you're interested in. That'd be cool for me, but I'm really social, so I don't really like the small college kind of thing. The campus is really beautiful. And the one I've been to more than anything is UGA, because I visit there like every other weekend. But and that's a cool college, and it's pretty kind of far away. But Athens is like a good city. It's not too big, not too small, and there's like everything you need there.
And so when you went on your college campus tours, what were the things that really wowed you? What did you notice there that surprised you? stood out?
Actually, I noticed, well, at Emory, Oxford, and GCSU, really, everybody was dressed kind of nice. Like, they dressed kind of like, oh, also at GCSU down in the South, the African-American population is incredibly low. And Emory, Oxford's not too high either. And, yeah, they dressed nice. They were like jeans and Sperry's and button-downs like all the time, which is kind of, it's not weird, but at UGA, basically when we go to like the dining hall to eat and stuff, I see everybody just in like Nike shorts and
T-shirts and flip-flops.
Yeah, and then
Yes.
like that's what I'm wearing. I'm just like, yes. So nice.
The some colleges, because they realize that the campus tour makes a huge impression on students, they're doing a lot of things to just attract you. And so there's a college, I think it's over in Oregon, that where they've bought these super expensive Duxiana beds. I think they're Duxiana beds. And so it's like to attract students, they get these really great beds rather than your usual dorm room beds. And so that's
Use them just for like the dorm room that they show on the tour.
yeah, it's
That's dirty.
Yes, Melissa.
I went to a University of Alabama, and they have these dorms where now it's 4 people in a dorm. It's kind of like a condo, so there's like a living space, and each person has their own like room, like bedroom, and there's like a kitchen area. Right there is like a suite, and then like freshmen can have their cars on campus. Like she said, you can build your own major. It was cool.
Yeah, and oftentimes the dorms are becoming nicer than the dorms you're going to get when you, or I'm sorry, than the apartments you're going to get when you get out of college. And so you've got the granite countertops and the stainless steel appliances, and they're in dorm rooms. And but it's to, again, you guys represent a lot of money to the school, and so they want you there. Yes.
I remember I went to Warren Wilson. It's a college up in North Carolina, and it's out in the wilderness essentially. It's in the Blue Ridge Mountains, which is one of like kind of like some things I really like. I really like being out in nature, and it's really cool because there's like one of the parts about being in the college is that you have certain jobs to do, like they're farm animals that you have to, that like different like teams of the grades have to like do their horses, their sheep, their cows. It's actually, it sounds weird, but it actually like the campus is really big, so it's it has this feel of just sort of like the country a little bit, but it's a very, very liberal school, but I think one of the things that was really interesting is that apparently you can rent like puppies from the library to like take care of, because they have like I forget, I think it's like they have some affiliations with a shelter or something, so and that was awesome.
That is awesome. I think I saw an article on that. And I think they're doing it at more colleges because of pet therapy and how relaxing pets are. And stressing.
One of the, but like all that aside, the science department there is very good, and it's really interesting. And I want to go into psychology, so it's just
very nice. Other experiences? Greta, were you going to share another one?
I just was going to mention, at GCSU, a lot of the even freshman dorms are really nice apartments that are like pre-furnished and stuff. And they're expensive, but since it's not that hard to get into, you can get a lot of scholarship money. And then basically you're only paying for, room and board. And then you're willing to pay for the expensive, nice room.
And they know that. And so, and with student loans, federally backed student loans, as well as the scholarship dollars that are available these days, the tuition continues to go up, and they find other creative ways of bringing revenue in. And so, let's see, I'm trying to think, how are the Emory dorms? Have you guys seen the Emory dorms? Okay. Yeah.
I took I did this thing called YTI. It's a 3-week course at Emory over the summer. It's a theological thing, and the dorms are really nice, but they're also like depending on where you are, the dorms are nice. Like there's certain ones, but like it's not. It's like they're. I was talking to one of the counselors, which most of the counselors are students at Candler School of Theology, and they're like, apparently there's this whole like, they're like all of like the good ones they automatic, like you said, they show all like the really best dorms and like the most well kept ones, but there's like, it's just, I thought that's pretty funny how they do that.
Yeah, because it's that experience that you have when you go on the tours is the thing you're going to take back with you. The way it feels, the way you feel, and the things that you notice, and the things that the other students say while you're there. It's all marketing to you guys. And so, let's see. Just a few years ago, the dorms at Emory didn't even have air conditioning, and they were not nice at all. And that was typically before colleges began treating themselves as businesses. Typically, when you went to college, you were going to suffer, and you were just there to study and to make good grades. But now it's more of a lifestyle. And so, anyone with let's see, a sport where you're looking for scholarships, or other areas where you're looking for scholarships besides Melissa's with your swimming, right? And track. Okay. And Alabama has wonderful scholarships. Anyone else with sports scholarships?
I was like 6, and I'm good, but I don't know that I would want to get a swim scholarship because I kind of want to focus on academics when I first get to college.
Okay, so other experiences with college tours? In the dorm rooms are oftentimes, there's some changes that dorms have made over the past years beyond just simply giving you private living spaces, which is a huge thing. That no longer do you have to worry about a roommate necessarily. And that's the one question on here was, what if I don't like my roommate? Well, there are dorm options where you can have your own individual room, and then you come out for common space within a suite. And which is some schools opt to not have that until you're a sophomore or later on, but some schools have that already because personality style differences and the challenges and the stresses that go along with not coming home every afternoon to a place where you don't want to be is huge. The other changes that I see with dorms, because there was a trend throughout the 80s and the 90s of co-ed housing. And it used to be that dorms were single-sex housing buildings, and guys were not allowed in girls' dorms, and girls weren't allowed the doors locked in the evenings, and the opposite sex wasn't allowed in the dorms. And then everything went to co-ed dorms where one floor was for guys and one floor was for girls. And then co-ed housing where a floor has both guys and girls. And even some schools that you go visit will have a suite where guys and girls are living in the same suite. And so realizing what makes you feel comfortable, and you obviously have housing options when you get there. But the new trend is going back to single-sex apartments or single-sex buildings, basically, where it's only all-female dorm and then all-male dorm. And that's following along with some research that shows that we do better when we're not distracted in terms of education and studying. It's just,
It was interesting when we went
him to Warren Wilson. His dad was like in the restrooms there, like in the dorms, and they were not anything plush. But before you went in the bathroom, it kind of confused Chuck because it was like the label on it was whatever gender you identify with. I mean, so it wasn't like a male or a female, and so, being his dad, he was like, well, should I,
But, yeah, and colleges have been some of the first places to make those changes. And it's, let's see, again, lots of options, lots of distractions. And so knowing what you feel comfortable with will decrease the amount of stress that you have when you're at college. And knowing yourself and knowing what works best for you. And so the place where you want to exercise discipline is where you're thinking about those things now, not after you get there saying, I should really like to, but I probably shouldn't because I've got an 8 o'clock class tomorrow. And so exercise your discipline now. The parents, have you seen things on the college tours that stand out to you, and advice you can offer the students of what they should be looking for when they go to college, when they're going on the college tours? And everyone should, like the SAT, you want to get over to college and take the tour, because there, if you're feeling like you're a nobody in your high school, there you will feel like a rock star, because they'll treat you really well, because they want you to be there.
Trying to, while you're there, try and go ahead and make an appointment with the admissions counselor. So you have that connection.
Which is a really good point too, and that's where those soft skills, those communication skills come into play. And the admissions counselor, they probably wouldn't do an interview with you necessarily at the time, but just a touch base, and it just puts you out helps you to stand out among the pack. Mm-hmm.
Admissions counselor, email, just to get your name out there, even if it's some answer you already know.
Yeah.
So you establish a rapport. Oh, well, what about this? I mean, you don't ask something, simple, but that's a technique a friend of mine recommended.
just like show your
Right. And then when they're in your town, like if it's a college far away, they'll kind of can put the face and name. Oh yeah, we've talked. You all of a sudden are a little bit more familiar than other people.
And if they're a really talented admissions counselor, like we're at Warren Wilson, which this was just something to look at up there. The woman that we went in and talked to, she was so good at just and I don't know if you've had experiences with this, but just starting a conversation and finding out his interest. And she just was really adept at that. I mean, she was really good.
That makes sense. 'Cause they're
So it's interesting to see that work.
And so within the 2-hour travel time outside of Atlanta, we've got all types of colleges that will give you a feel. And actually, one of our colleges here in Georgia, Berry College, was just voted #1 most beautiful campus in the United States in a small town. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. And so like I said, the smaller colleges are getting football teams. They're doing more with sports, and so don't necessarily rule those out, thinking that you need to go to a large SEC school if you're wanting more sports options, because oftentimes the smaller schools will give you more scholarship dollars than the larger schools will. The other thing too is that let's see, getting a good feel for the way a small college or a small university feels compared to a large university is one reason for just tooling around the campuses within the metro Atlanta area, but thinking of schools outside the state. And in-state tuition is generally less. We've got the Hope Scholarship here, but out-of-state schools will give oftentimes bigger scholarship dollars for you to come out of state, so that the end cost ends up being basically the same as staying in-state. So think of the school where you really want to be, compare the apples to apples, and that we'll talk about how to do that as we get down into scholarship dollars, because it's a process, and it can be overwhelming when you're looking at all of those features there. And that's why you want to keep your eyes on the end result, which is who's going to give me who's going to fulfill my passion of who I wanted to be when I was 10 to 12 years old, and so that I have a fulfilling life after college. And let's see. So who hasn't been on a college tour just yet? Haven't been, Sam hasn't been. Okay, good. Where are you going to go?
Davidson and Vernon.
Any suggestions from folks before he goes? Or what to do while you're there?
You said Davidson? It's a nice school. Went there for swimming.
And they do stress that they, when you're comparing the financials for schools, they offer a lot more grants, and they don't want you to take out loans. So that's something to think about, is what is the objective?
At Davison or?
Davidson.
And again, with the developing your strategy and the rubric too, and looking at each school, and I would say seriously considering 8 schools or up to 8 schools, and looking at those aspects, because some schools get additional dollars so when you take out loans, and so they will encourage you to take out a loan, and rather than applying for grants, and so it's and that's a burden that you don't want to have when you get out of school and are just beginning to get yourself established and beginning to make some earning money. And so, let's see. Greta, did you have something? Did you want to add something? Okay. Let's see. Oh, we're waiting for lunch, basically. So in terms of what you wanted to be when you were between 10 and 12 years old, and what you're thinking you might want to go into now, are you looking at colleges that offer that opportunity? And because even at a large school, basically our circle of friends is still relatively set and fixed. So you can get a small school feel, even if you go to a large school that has multiple types of major options. I keep thinking that you want to say something. And so, Duncan, you want to be a firefighter when you were between 10 and 12 years old, right?
Right.
Okay. And so what are you looking at now?
Now, I want to go into more of a science, math kind of engineering job.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've been looking at places like I'm touring Florida Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's the plan.
Sounds good. Duncan, how about you?
I want to major in I think psychology and or creative writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been starting to just look at colleges that are good in like the arts and science.
Mm-hmm.
Like ever since I was little, I've always loved creating stories, helping like and talking. And I'm a very like compassionate person.
Mhm.
At least people told me. So, and that's just what I'll do.
Mm-hmm. And Sam? Right.
I'm interested in science and music, and science first, and then music is maybe like a minor, or something in music and something in science. I'm not really sure exactly what I'm interested in.
Music therapy would be cool.
Well, yeah, I have thought about like kind of combining them, but I also, I don't know, I'm taking physics right now, AP physics, but my teacher isn't very good at all, so I'm not really learning physics. But I really like it, and I don't know if I want to go into that or chemistry or biology or anything like that, or a combination. Also, I have like I'm looking for like a smaller school, I think. I'm not really sure if that's exactly what I want to do, but I think.
And keep in mind, remember we talked about how the jobs we'll have needs for in 5 years are not even thought of yet. And so it's okay not to know exactly where you want to go and what you want to do, but to remember who you are and what your interests are. because that's where you're going to find your most of your motivation and interest in sticking with it and taking the classes that you like. How about you, Greta?
I'm interested in law. So, and I have been since middle schoolish. And for my undergrad, I kind of want to do psychology and political science. And completely separate from that, I'm kind of interested in like psychiatry and like pain management through through psychological medicine, which is kind of interesting, but it's not really like law. But yeah.
Well, you'd be interested. It would be fascinating to see how those actually cross over. And so,
If they do, I don't know if they will.
then they do. And actually, what each you guys have talked about, there are ways that you can practice your soon-to-be career and still find your passion there that you wanted to be when you were 10 or 12, and like solve. Yes, but you could be a lawyer for singers and fashion designers. There you go. There you go. Ta-da. Yep. Okay, next.
Alright, well, I'm looking into the media production industry as well as marketing or accounting at the same time. So I have a few options that kind of go together. And
So would you go into film and entertainment here in Georgia?
yeah.
And that's a huge area where they're just so ready for workers because the film and entertainment companies are still bringing accountants in from California because they can't find enough qualified to actually work in that field. Mm-hmm. Which, to me, the whole area of theater, it's just really, it's tied in there as well. That's great. Big school or small school? Do you know yet?
Not really. I've been looking at Georgia State. I have a very wide range. I'm a very well-known person, so we can go either way.
Flexible. There you go. And yes, tell us who you are.
Hey, my name is Jordan.
Hey, Jordan.
I'm from Sandy High School.
Okay.
I major in like something like veterinary. Because I like animals and I take care of them and stuff. So.
That's great. Do you know if you want to be in a big school or a small school?
Small school.
Small school. Because I don't know what's around Atlanta and Georgia in terms of veterinary medicine. Do you guys know what's UGA? Yeah.
What is the school in Tuskegee? I think has a really good vet school because I have a nephew that, you know, like sometimes if you don't have a program that you're looking for in a state, right? Can't you go to another? But I think Tuskegee has a really good vet school.
Tuskegee State. They do, yeah. Yeah, Alabama tends to get a lot of our students from Atlanta, and they give really excellent scholarships to get Alabama. And they've got excellent programs. How about you, Melissa?
I can do audio, video, film, or music.
Sports management is a big field.
Yeah, I'm trying to like see how that would work though. Like I don't actually, I'm not sure if I want to go to college now and then go like, cause it's like really weird timing. Cause I want to get endorsements, but I can't go to swim for college and then have endorsements at the same time. Like you can't be pro and then be college pro. So, but I still want to do film and want to like be a movie director.
Well, you're in the right state for it.
Yeah, cause in Atlanta too, actually, because a lot of movies are starting.
Absolutely.
Speaking of directing film, that's something that recently I've been thinking would be something cool to get into because right now I'm taking IB theater It's sort of a class that kind of lets you know if you want to be a director or not. And it's really fun. So.
And the Georgia Board of Regents has, I think it was last year, they have challenged our universities to come up with more film and entertainment courses and majors for students. So more options there on a university level for training. Any baseball players here? No, baseball.
I wanted to add something to that. Somebody just sent me an email recently. If you live in the city of Atlanta, they're offering a 17-week course in the film industry area. They pay you while you're in the so they're really pushing that.
They are. And
if you live in the city of Atlanta, they're offering a film industry 17-week course that you can take. They pay you while you take that course. I just got the email yesterday, so it was from a friend. My son plays soccer, and so she sent it to me.
I know I was talking with the Atlanta Regional Commission, and there are over 5 counties around Atlanta, and they're part of this workforce development program, the High Demand Jobs Initiative that the governor has. And they will, because of all the open jobs, both in the film industry and the technology industry, we've got 20,000 jobs that are open in technology, the 5,000 welder jobs, and in the film and entertainment industry. I don't even remember the number of jobs that are open there. And so the Atlanta Regional Commission will pay for someone to go and become trained. They also, for the companies that hire that person, they will subsidize the salary for the first 6 months and make sure that you're successful on the job. And so the state's putting more and more dollars into workforce training, and they're also really looking at our colleges really preparing our young people for the jobs that we need filled in the state. And so again, it's not necessarily about going to college, it's about preparing for jobs that are available. And it's a different mind shift these days. I'm not trying to talk you out of going to college, but remembering that the end goal is to have, to be productive citizens, to match your passion and your interest with the jobs that are available, and to not end up like so many. My daughter's 25, and so many of her friends are living at home because they can't find jobs except for in retail, and they've got 4-year degrees, and those are challenging. They went to 4-year universities and have your basic degrees in English or math or communications, or it's a tough world. So you have to take it differently. Don't be that group of kids I went before. Be the kids that are much more strategic in your plans. Because the jobs are out there. You just have to make sure you have the skill sets for them. Yes.
And I know that some colleges are now doing you go and you do a certain amount of years in college and you automatically get a job after. So I don't know for which specific jobs those are, but you should look into that just in case.
And a lot of the colleges have those internships built into the curriculum. So.
Yeah, because it's hard to get an internship after college where you're not getting paid anything for it, and so because the student loan dollars don't cover internships, and so that's where a lot of kids find themselves after college. They had really great dorms with stainless steel appliances and granite countertops, and then they get an internship, and they're living with 5 others in a sort of tiny little room, hoping that they get picked out of a large group so they can begin to make some money. And like I said too, about every 3 years, there will be a shift from one type of work to another type of work. You can expect to see that kind of change over your lifetime. That's just what we're looking at in the trends. And so making sure that you develop the skill sets that are going to take you from one career path to another career path, or a different type of job within your area of interest. And that meets the level of income and money that you guys are capable of making. The technology jobs, the 20,000 technology jobs that are out there, they start at $80,000, and we don't have the workforce to fill them. And what the companies are doing right now is to pilfer employees from other technology companies or bringing them in from other states. And Not everybody can go into IT, but it's those jobs are there. You don't have to become a barista. All right, so I'm sorry, lunch is here, and after we eat lunch, we're going to come back and answer questions, specific questions, and we have more hands-on activities to do to get down into the nitty-gritty of scholarships and applications and things of that nature. Thank you.